So, I am again back with my lecture and related to the lesson The Making of a Global World, which is a optional lesson and it is going to be assessed in periodic assessment but not to be evaluated in the board exam. But again I will tell you that it is very good lesson and all of you should go through this lesson so that you can understand the historical facts which have occurred and the incidents that has occurred later on, like the World War and all that, and what were the reasons for the occurrence of these world wars. This we will go through the lesson when we come across so many things. So I am going to start with the lesson. Okay, so from here the topic is the 19th century, 1815 to 1914. So what were the events that took place from 1815 to 1914? So first of all, there were many changes in the world during the 19th century related to economic, political, social, cultural and technological, and the changes which have occurred ultimately led to the new transformation of the societies as well as the political system and also the economic system. Like during this time, England has emerged as a very powerful nation after it has um, unified with Scotland and Wales, and after the unification, some of the countries, not only England, which has emerged as a very powerful nation and was known as Great Britain, but there were other nations too which have emerged as a very powerful nation, like after the unification, like Germany and also Italy. So Germany, Italy, France and Britain, they emerged as the powerful nation, and through their powers they started uh, expanding their territories also, because they became imperial countries and they started expanding their territories. And for this they maintained a very powerful army, not only in the land but also in the form of uh, the navy, powerful navy. They were having a good fleet of ships which they were using it for the purpose of waging war on the sea. So in this way, because of their powerful navy, they were maintaining, not only they were exploring many countries that were not still explored, and was also using it for trading, but also these powerful navy was also used for the purpose of wars, also for defeating their enemies. And thus they started colonizing the less powerful country. So in this way, after these countries that have emerged as powerful nation, they became imperialistic in nature. That is, they believed now in expansionist policy by expanding their territories and annexing the less powerful country. In this way, those countries which were annexed by these powerful country, they became the colonies of these powerful countries, and they served these imperial countries in many way. Like the imperial country, usually they used to extract all the types of mineral and natural resources for their own benefit from these colonial countries. Okay, so now what were the flow? Now, three flows or moments were identified by the economists. So during this time, even the flows were there. Means flows in the sense कि when the during the 19th century, when the trade expanded, then not only the goods were flowing from one country to another country, but also the people, they were also going from one country to another country, and also along with them, the people who are going and trying to make the less powerful country their colony. So some political changes were also happening, and economic flows means their currency, their gold and silver which they were using for buying the commodities from the other country, that was also going along with them. So the what flows were there or identified by the economics. The first is the flow of trade, referred largely to trade in goods, that is cloth or wheat. The second is the flow of labor, the migration of people in search of employment, and the third is the movement of capital for short term or long term movement over long differences. Okay, so these three flows were there which were identified by the economics. And what were these flows? First of all, the goods that were going from one country to another country, and along with their goods the money or the gold or silver, and the people, they were also migrating in search of good opportunities from one country. So their ideas, their views were also going. And the third was the capital means the investment. So they have started investing in other countries also, those who were the rich industrialists. Now a world economy. So in this way, these three flows ultimately shaped the world economy. So what shaped the world economy? That in the 19th century, self-sufficiency is found in food meant lower living standards and social conflict in Britain. So during the 19th century, Britain had already been industrialized, and due to the industrialization, the society of Britain was divided into two parts, into two groups. That is, the one who were the rich industrialists and who were who were in the possession of maximum property or wealth of the Britain, and they are investing their capital for establishing industries. And the other section was living in majority, they were forming the majority of the population, and they were the poor labor class people, okay, who were working in their industries. So in this way, the Britain was divided into two sections of group. One who were the rich and affluent but who were in minorities, and they were the capitalists. And the second were who were in majority in Britain but who were poor and who were forming the labor class, and they were working in the factories of these rich industrial capitalist people. Okay, so now in Britain, so when there was a self-sufficiency in food, what I want to tell that development also relates to the occupation of the people. Okay, so a country is said to be developed if the people are more engaged in manufacturing or secondary sector, but a country is said to be less developed if most of its population is engaged in primary sector, that is agriculture and its related activities. So here in Britain, when the industrialization started, then most of the population who were first engaged in the primary sector, that is agriculture, and especially the poor class, they migrated towards the cities, and they started living over there. This created a shortage of living space for the people, and ultimately this resulted in slum area. And also, when huge number of people, labor class people, moved toward the cities, this led to the falling of the labor prices and more exploitation by the capitalist. So in Britain, food prices fell, and in the mid 19th century, industrial growth led to higher incomes and more food imports. So now the government policy also changed with the industrialization, and the government of Britain thought of, instead of enhancing more towards the agriculture, means the government of Britain also now was much interested in expanding the industrialization rather than agriculture, because at that time Britain has already achieved the self sufficiency in food production, and now the main focus of the government of Britain was towards industrialization and expanding industrialization. So its policy was also like this, that to increase the industries rather than to pay more attention on the agriculture, because it thought that if it wants to develop its country, it should pay more attention on the manufacturing sector rather than primary sector. And it also thought that it can import the goods, agricultural commodities, from the less developed nation in lower prices, and then process it and again resell it in higher prices to these less developed, so that it can gain more profit. Okay, now in eastern, okay, fine, industrial growth led to higher income. So when the industries expand and the people start working in manufacturing sector, their income also enhance, and with the enhanced income their standard of living also improves. And when the standard of living improves, then instead of spending your money on the essential commodity, a person starts expanding more on the luxurious items. So in this way technology also increases. Okay, now in Europe, in order to fulfill British demand in Eastern Europe, Russia, America and Australia, lands were cleared to expand food production. And at that time, during the 19th century, Britain had not only colonized many countries of Asia and Africa, but it also has colonized USA, United States of America, and also Australia. So now, in order to fulfill the demands of the food commodities of its growing population, it was importing the food commodities from these countries. And so more and more land of these countries were cleared off to make it a cultivable land and to fulfill the growing demands of the increased population of Britain. Okay, even Russia at that time was a less developed country, because most of its population was engaged in agriculture rather than industry. So only few pocket industries were there, and the main item it was exporting was wheat production and all, and rice. And so in this way all the food commodities were supplied by these countries to Britain. Okay, in Eastern Europe, Russia, America and Australia, Lands were cleared to expand food production, this I have already told, in order to manage links of railways to agriculture fields, and building homes for people required capital and labor. London helped in terms of finance and terms of labor. People emigrated from Europe to America and Australia in the 19th century. So, for the purpose of agriculture, more labor were required, and so the poor people of England, they started migrating toward these countries where agriculture was expanding, like Australia and America and all that. By 1890, a global agricultural economy had taken shape, adapting complex changes in labor movement patterns, capital flows, ecologies, and technology. In West Punjab, the British Indian government built a network of irrigation canal to transform semi-desert waste into fertile agricultural land to grow wheat and cotton for export. Even the cultivation of cotton expanded worldwide to feed British textile mills. So, in their colonies, they started making the people uh, grow more cash crops, so that these cash crops can be sent to their native country, that is England, for to fulfill the needs of its industries. Like the farmers of India, they were forced to grow cotton in their fields rather than the food crops, so that these the growing demands of the cotton could be fulfilled by the Indian cotton. Okay, now what was the role of technology? Some of the important inventions in the field of technologies are railways, steamships, the telegraph. So during this time, many inventions, scientific inventions have also occurred which enhanced the technology, and the technology also played a very important role in the transformation of the world and making it a global world. So like railways, so people started coming from one place to another in a more convenient manner, in a more easy, with the expansion of the railways, and so they came across with the different people from different background, and there was a cultural exchange started going on. But technology's advances were often results of larger social and political economic factors. For example, colonization stimulated new investment and improvement in transport. Faster railways, lighter weapons, and larger ships helped move food more cheaply and quickly from far away farms to final market. So now these powerful countries who have already established colonies in all over the world, mainly Asia and Africa, with the help of their technology and with the help of their powerful army and navy, they now started with the they started using the resources of these less the of their colonial countries, and utilizing it for the purpose of investment and improvement in transport. So now they started, even the inventions also were there, and these inventions they were using to develop the technologies which were related to the defense and the armed forces. So more light and complex armed forces were developed which can be very much destructive for for their enemy. Animals were often shipped. Okay, now they were now these powerful countries, they were um, fulfilling their food requirement means not only the related to the grains and the vegetarian, but also mostly in Europe they were consuming the meat of the animals. So these animals, they were also exported to these powerful countries, to these imperial countries by their by their colonies. So these colonies were also started exporting their animals and cattle to their colonial masters, that is the imperial countries. Okay. Okay, meat was considered as an expensive. So what I was saying, animals were also shipped live from America to Europe till the 1870. Meat was considered an expensive luxury beyond the reach of European poor. To break the earlier monotony of bread and potatoes, many could now add meat, butter, and eggs to their diet. Means with the help of the colonial countries, which were supplying them not only the grains and the vegetables, but now they were also supplying them the animal meat, and so animal meat became very cheap, and it came, and now the poor can also afford meat and eggs to their food. So late 19th century colonization, trade flourished and market expanded in the late 19th century, but it has a darker side too. As in many parts of the world, the expansion of trade and a closer relationship with the world economy meant loss of freedom and livelihood. So when the trade expanded, then these powerful nations who uh, went to these Asian countries and African countries as traders, now their motive was to become the masters of these countries by colonizing them, and so there was a competition started between these European nations to colonize the less powerful country, and so the people of many less powerful country, they lost their freedom and they were treated as slaves by these powerful countries. So this led to the feeling of hatred and ultimately war. Okay. In 1885, the big European powers met in Berlin to complete the carving of Africa between them. So, Africa at that time was a continent which was mostly colonized by these European powerful nations, and they have acquired some of the territories, and now they met at Berlin to distribute the territories of Africa among themselves. मतलब कि वो जो अफ्रीका को उन्होंने कोलोनाइज कर लिया था, तो अफ्रीका को अब वो चाहते थे कि उसके जितने भी पार्ट है वो कौन कौन वो आपस में बंटवारा करना चाहते थे. दे वांटेड टू डू द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ द अफ्रीकन टेरिटरीज. फॉर दिस दे मेट एट बर्लिन. Britain and France made vast addition to their overseas territories. Belgium and Germany became now colonial powers. So the US also has become a colonial power in the late 1890s by taking over some colonies earlier held by Spain. So by this time already the USA has got freedom from its own native country, that is Britain, and has now started for the colonism. Means it also became, after getting freedom, USA is again, even though it declared itself as a democratic country, but still it also started colonizing like the Britain, and it also emerged as a imperial country. Rinderpest or the cattle plague. In Africa in the 1819, a fast spreading disease of cattle plague impacted people's livelihood and the local economy. Africa had abundant and a relatively small population in the late 19th century. Europeans were attracted to Africa due to the vast resources of land and animal. Europeans came to Africa hoping to establish plantations and mines to produce crops and minerals for export to Europe. A shortage of labor willing to work for wages. inheritance laws were changed, and according to the new one, only one member of the family was allowed to inherit the land. In the late 1890, Rinderpest was a plague, and it affected the cattle, and those who ate the meat of these cattle, they were affected by this deadly plague. And so it created a lot of devastation by killing thousands of people, not only in Africa, but because the meat was exported to the European countries, so to those who consumed that meat, they all died. Okay. Rinderpest arrived in Africa, carried by infected cattle from British Asia. British Asia means might be from India or from China, because China at that time also was the colony, and some other Asian countries. So this when the cattle were exported from one place to another by the imperial countries to their colonies, so this cattle which was transported from British Asia to Africa, then it also infected the cattle over there. To feed the Italian soldiers invading Eurasia in East Africa, the loss of cattle destroyed African livelihood. Indentured labor migration from India, and so I have second flows was the labor flows, and so many laborers, because at that time when these imperialistic countries, they were forming big plantations in their colonial lands, especially Africa and all that, they wanted huge labor who can work on these plantations, as the population of Africa was very less. But and so to fulfill the need of the labor, they were supplying the labor from Asia as indentured. Indentured means contract labor, who have to go and serve their masters for at least some period of time, and till that they cannot return to their own homeland. In India, indentured labor were hired under contracts, and most of them came from present-day regions of eastern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, central India, and the dry district of Tamil Nadu. Indian indentured migrant main destinations were the Caribbean island, mainly Trinidad, Guyana, and Suriname, Mauritius, and Fiji. Indentured workers were also recruited for tea plantations in Assam. 19th century indenture has been described as a new system of slavery. In Trinidad, the annual Muharram procession was transformed into a righteous carnival called Hosse, in which workers of all races and religion joined. Similarly, the protest religion of Rastafarianism is also said to reflect social and cultural links with Indian migrants to the Caribbean. From the 1900s, India's nationalist leaders began opposing the system of indentured labor migration in as abusive and cruel. It was finally abolished in 1921. Okay. Now, next is Indian entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs means those who invest their money to establish industry or to establish a business venture. So now the capitalist, big rich capitalist from India, not only the British but the Indians also, they also started establishing their joint venture or establishing their industries not only in India but also in abroad. People need huge capital to grow food and other crops for the world market. So, for the humble peasant, Shikaripuri, Shroffs, and Natukotai Chettiars were among the many groups of bankers and traders who financed export agriculture in Central and Southeast Asia, using either their own funds or those borrowed from European banks. Okay, Indian textile, Indian trade, colonialism, and the global system cotton from India were exported to Europe. In Britain, tariffs were imposed on cloth import. Consequently, the inflow of the fine Indian cotton began to decline. So, the deindustrialization was brought by the British imperial country Britain, who were the British, and how it brought deindustrialization among the Indian weavers of India by first of all introducing their own western goods and western cotton textile in India by importing huge quantity of the England made clothes and in India, and which were less in price and were good in quality. So mostly the poor people, they bought these England made clothes, and then because the Indian were mostly clothes were textiles were hand woven, so its price was more. And second thing was that the at that time the British people, especially the rich and the elite class of the people in Britain, they were mostly fond of the Indian textiles. But the Queen Victoria, seeing that their goods which were manufactured in the industries were not means popular, and they were not buying their goods, so it tried to reduce the import of Indian goods by imposing more custom duties on the Indian imported goods. Okay, so in this way, first of all, the market of the India, the consumers of the India, they first of all declined because of the huge import of Britain made clothes, and second, the reduction was done towards the export by imposing more custom duties. Okay. So these were all the reasons that ultimately led to the two devastating wars, that is the First World War, which happened in 1914 to 1918, and then the Second World War, which happened in 1939 to 1945. So this I will explain you later on in my next lecture. Okay, students, I hope that you have understood this much. Thank you very much.